Hi YouTube, this is me, Neil Trigger. I'm back. Yeah, normally I would go live on a Saturday evening. I say normally, like I used to go live on a Saturday evening pretty much every evening, pretty much every week rather. And so in this live stream, what I figured I would do is to kind of do a bit of that. I'm hoping that a whole bunch of you are going to start joining so I can have a chat. I really love it when people interact. So if you are there, please do say hi. Welcome to live chat. Yeah, so hopefully we've got some people on live. Normally I would be looking straight down the camera. Today is slightly different to that, and I'll explain that in just a moment. So I want to have a look on YouTube to just check whether or not I am live. It looks like I am live, which is nice, and there is one person watching me. Hooray! So if you're there, say hello. I'm going to also make sure that I keep up with the chat. I've got it on my auto cue, so I'm looking straight down the channel, straight down the camera, but I'm also looking at the live chat, which hopefully is there, although I can't really see anyone saying hi yet. So let's open that panel. I don't know why that's not opening direct. Maybe it's taken a while. I don't know. I do have a window there. Lynn Kirby. Hi, Lynn. How are you doing? I don't know why that's not showing properly, so let me just shrink that a little bit. Live and audio is good, thank you. Hopefully the video is quite good as well, because I've upgraded my video fairly recently. So yeah, that's awesome. And thanks for watching, do appreciate it. So what I figured I would do today is to make my Smellcaster machine live, which might be a little bit boring for some people, but for some other people I think this could be quite interesting. I've had a bit of a delivery today of, it's quite heavy, a bunch of these things, which don't look like very much, but they are the bit that turns on and off the smells. So I'm really excited about this. For those of you who don't know, if you're joining me brand new, the Smellcaster project is a way of interacting with stories by turning smells on and off, which aids immersion. And for some reason this thing is not working. This isn't opening, I don't know why. Oh, they sealed it up even below the tear here. Great, where's my scissors? Okay. I don't know why that's not working. In fact, actually, I'll just cut the whole damn thing because I don't really need to keep on getting into it. I don't know why it's even a resealable bag, to be honest, because I'm only going to use it once. Okay, so here we have a couple of things, actually. So we've got a box. Live unboxing. How exciting. These are solenoids. And a box, which I can just chuck in the bin. And more packaging, which I can also chuck away. This will all get recycled, don't panic. You are live and audio is good. Yeah, sorry, thank you. So this is the solenoid. It doesn't look like a huge amount, but I'll explain what all of this does in a minute. Essentially, we have one thing going in, one thing coming out, and a bit of a switch. And this is the switch here, and that's going to be controlled by a Raspberry Pi, which is a small computer, which basically turns it on and off. So the very, very first thing we need to do is to unscrew this thing, which is it's just like a locking nut to make sure that this doesn't turn. That then comes out, turns, and then it goes back, and that's literally all we do. And then just screw that back together again. And I think that's just so that it can be posted and it's smaller. I think that's all it's for. Right, the next thing is we've got a line in that way and a line out that way. Now this is going to be compressed air, which is also going to be connected to one of these things, and this is a smell pod. It's actually an inline filter, but I'm using it as a smell pod. So this white thing inside here, I'm going to fill that with cotton wool. I'm going to douse that in a fragrance oil, like a smell. And then on the other end of it, I think I've got one here. Yeah, there we go. Here's one I made earlier. So you've got a line in coming in this way into a quick release valve, and these are really important. So when I change the smells, you literally just pull down on that and it releases. And you can also then push and it stays fitted like that, and that can deal with a fair amount of pressure. You've got the same on the other side. And then this one over here is a check valve, which stops air from flowing in the wrong direction. ultimately, I'm going to have one of those on either side. So this is essentially going to then be a fully compressed single unit, basically. So it's going to be totally airtight all the way from here all the way to there. That will then all be just one smell, so it'll be like pumpkin spice. That's really important because I don't want these smells mixing and muddling together, because otherwise it'll just smell like mud. And this stuff here, that's PTFE tape, which basically makes sure that it's an airtight seal, and that's a one-way return valve, meaning that air can go in that direction but it can't go in that direction. That makes it airtight. Cool. So that's what I'm going to be doing with these solenoids, and these solenoids here, there's a bit of a wire connected to this one because this one now works. I have a whole bunch of these, which on the other channel, the Magical Man Cave channel that I was just live on, that one showed how to put all these together. But basically all you do is just daisy chain them one to another, and then you put in all of the terminals in there. So that's that. Groovy. Okay, it's getting warm in here. I've turned on the air conditioning. It's getting pretty hot, and I think it's just hopefully. In fact, actually, I might need to turn off the heating on the main house. Let's do that first, because I don't want to heat up the house and then cool down one room. That would be stupid. One moment, please. What a wonderful live stream, watching someone adjust the heating on their house. No, it is off. Okay. I don't know why it's so hot in here. Okay, so yeah, I've got a whole bunch of these solenoids. There's actually about 13 of them at the moment. And it's important that I've got a lot of them, because I'm going to need quite a lot of spells. Because otherwise it's just going to be, you'd be listening to a story and it would be something like you're entering a chocolate shop and the person is made of chocolate. And then you walk outside to a chocolate street, and and everything would smell like chocolate. It'd be ridiculous. So let me just show you what I'm doing on the computery side of things. So if I do this, hopefully that will work. Is that working? No. Okay. How about that? There we go. So this is my Home Assistant setup. This is actually what's going on a server downstairs. This is being served over the internet. I designed it myself, and all of these smells are going to ultimately be connected to the Smellcaster machine. Each of these buttons here I designed myself, and when you click it, it sends a signal over the network to say open this thing. So I've got a Raspberry Pi, which is like a tiny little computer. I'm not sure I can show you it very easily because it's all wired in at the moment. But it's a small computer that I can program to turn pins on and off. And all that really means is that by turning those pins on and off, it can control a little microchip, which again I'm going to wire up in this video. And the connection to the microchip is really important, because that then turns on essentially like a relay. It provides power to the solenoids, which then opens a valve and allows the air to flow through. But because each of these smells is going to be distinct from each other, I need lots of solenoids, which is why I've got these things. And they're all going to go onto a board. I've got 2 connected at the moment. I'm going to be connecting another one during this video, and I'll sort of show you how to do that as well. So the next thing we're going to do is to unscrew these. And then in there we've got a little rubber gasket, which I just need to tap out. There we go. And it's also got a metal washer as well, which I forgot about. And then it's got this screw just here, so we need to unscrew this one with the wrong screwdriver. I do have the right screwdriver somewhere. Where is it? Has it vanished? Yes, it has. I think that might be downstairs. Oh well. Or is it in my pocket? No, it's in my pocket because I was prepared. I was prepared. Good. So we can unscrew this one. And what you'll notice is that that screw goes direct into a tiny, tiny little chipboard. Oh, not quite enough. I don't want to lose the screw live on screen. Right, so that one comes out like that. And then you'll see here there are some screw terminals there and there. What we need to do is to unscrew these. And these are for the positive and negative. So, where are we? We have a MOSFET board over here, which is already powered, and I just need to make sure that I power it the right way, otherwise we are going to have a problem. Probably, I think. Can't actually remember which way goes where. So let's have a look at some others. Positive. Okay, cool. So the positive one goes in here. So I'll chuck it in and screw that together. I'm glad the audio's good though, so thank you for checking. And then the black negative line goes into the negative terminal. That's the next thing actually I probably should have done. Whoops. Yeah, so one moment, I will undo that because I just made a cock up. Okay, so you unscrew it both. Right, bearing in mind that we need to make sure that that all goes in that way. Okay, cool. So we will do it this way. So what we need to do, we need to sort of reassemble everything like this. So that this goes back in here. That can go back in there. I mean, normally this will be for waterproofing. I don't really need to worry about any of that stuff, but that then goes back so that that can then, these wires can basically come through. I'll slide that down because then I can put it all back together again. Where is it? Okay, so that one goes in there. I know you can't see this. Not very good video, is it? Oh well. You will see my excitement if this works, because it's going to click, which is probably all you're actually going to be able to hear. But if it clicks, what that means is I've just connected a new smell. So that'll be quite exciting for me. The other thing about smell machines, I suppose, is that they're not very well built for YouTube, because we don't have smelly vision yet. But this is kind of what I'm making, you know, because this is like the first step for internet smelly vision. And what I might do, I mean, this is like a long-term, big plan, but for those of you who might... Oh, that didn't work. For those of you who want to support me on Patreon or something like that, what we could do, not saying we should, but what we could do is a little campaign, maybe on Kickstarter or something like that, whereby I show you how to make it, you make it, and then we actually do this over the internet, so that I can send smells to you. That would be pretty cool. But obviously you'd need one of these machines, so I can't do that for free. But I think it might be quite an interesting experiment. We could make the world's first internet smell machine. I mean, this is kind of the first internet smell machine that I'm making, actually. What we might do first, though, which I think would be quite cool, is for those people who do support me on Patreon, what we could do, which I think would be pretty neat actually, would be a live stream whereby I have the Smellcaster all set up and you guys click buttons on my website, which would be linked up to this system, so that I can smell it. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe one a minute. Maybe we could do it. So yeah, I think that'd be cool. Like if someone does a super chat or something, we could give them the ability to control my smell in my man cave. And, you know, maybe the wet dog smell could be a premium. So, you know, if you really want to punish me. If I click on fresh bread, hopefully you'll hear a click. Yay. What that means is that the solenoid has just been connected to the wet dog smell. Oh, sorry, the freshly baked bread smell, even. So we click on that one, and it works. Click on this one, and it works. Click on this one, and it works. Yay! So that's kind of what I was trying to do on my previous live stream. But, yeah. I mean, it sort of worked on my previous live stream. I did what I needed to do. I didn't do this specifically, but I was sort of working towards it, so that's kind of cool. I did wonder whether some of my old regulars might join on this channel. And Lynn did, so thank you for that. Hi, Lindsay is it Lynn Kirby 7008? Yeah. How's your Alexa doing, by the way? Hopefully it's all connected. If not, give me a shout. Let me know. I was absolutely shattered this afternoon. As you know, my wife has gone off to a different country for the weekend. Only to Wales. It's not that bad. So I kind of figured, what am I going to do with myself to keep me out of trouble? So here I am online with my mother-in-law witnessing, which is also useful. So yeah, there we are. Right, I'm just screwing the terminal together. In fact, actually, we could even disconnect all this, which will then make screwing it all together an awful lot easier, because then I'm not connected to wires. So we'll do that, I think. So I've got this here, and you need some pliers for this, because it does kind of need to be pretty tight. Not like, you know, crazy tight, but just more than hand tight, I would say. Because ultimately this is going up to 6 bar pressure, which is reasonable. You know, it can make a big pop if you don't do it properly. Now, what I did there, I was taking some PTFE tape, which is this stuff, and it's kind of like a plastic, I suppose, but it's quite a soft plastic. And what you then do is to wrap it around the thread, which then makes sure that, because it is quite a soft plastic, it moulds into all of the gaps, and it ensures that it's an airtight seal. That way then it doesn't go bang or doesn't go pop or, you know, anything like that, so that's nice. Okay. I'm going to take this background screen off. There we go. Where are we? There we go. Okay. Yeah, so I just I keep on wrapping that around. It's a bit fiddly, because it's not exactly the right width, and I don't want to cut it. But you can sort of roll it and fold it, and it's not too bad. And I've got some scissors here. And they give you way more PTFE tape than you would ever need. And the problem with that is that because you've got a lot of these, and you get one of these for every single solenoid, you end up with tons of these things. So I try to then despool it onto a single spool, and then it just helps keep everything tidy. But, yeah, you could just have a box of these things otherwise. I mean, in fairness, most people probably aren't going to have this many solenoids in one place at one time, so you're probably not going to want to buy tons and tons and tons of solenoids. Most people don't. But because of the way I'm building this, I need one solenoid per smell. I don't really know of another way of doing it. So hopefully that'll be fine. Then I just put this back on, if I can work out how. Need to do that, and then that one like that. Yeah, cool. then screw this one into there. Whoops. Okay. So that's one solenoid done. Woo! And then just kind of keep on rinse and repeating, which is a little bit boring. But the cool thing about it now is because of the way that I've done this, I've got these chock blocks all daisy chained together. I can stick in one terminal per solenoid. So I know that I'm going to need another one of these. Probably another 2 of these, just so that I can get all of that sort of thing working. I might also need another one for the return on the MOSFET board. But what's weird about it, and I said this on the other stream, is that I was testing it out this morning, and when I clicked on the freshly baked bread, I think it is, the return line wasn't connected, and still it was working. In fact, actually, it's still not connected. I mean, that's weird. I don't understand why it's working, because it kind of shouldn't be. But yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing that it's working, I suppose. It's just a bit weird. So, I mean, for clarity, it might be better if I do connect it anyway. Not that it's going to make much of a difference, because the bloody thing's working anyway. Yeah, weird. If I do connect it and it stops working, I am going to need to find out what sort of voodoo witchcraft is going on here, because it shouldn't work, but it does, and I'm okay with it working. I'm glad it's working, sort of, but I'm just confused by it, really. So yeah, let's connect it anyway and see what happens. I don't think it's actually going to make a difference, and it might just be that the voltage is so low it doesn't matter that it's not returning anywhere. Maybe it's, I don't know, I can't. I've tried working it out. Over lunchtime, I was trying to work out, why is this working? Yeah, I mean, it's still working. Yeah, all three are firing. If anyone knows why that might happen, please let me know, because unless I'm being really thick, it's kind of defying the laws of physics. So I'd like to find out why. I'm sure it's something very straightforward. I don't think this is supernatural. I just think it's a bit odd. But yeah, it's working. I'm not going to question it too much. It is working, so that's okay. But I would like to find out why, because in theory, it just shouldn't be working. But there we are. Okay. I do kind of wonder whether I should stay live or not. I think I probably should, because, you know, why not? Might get some more people. I do love it when people do interact and say hello and all that sort of stuff. So if you're there, please do say hi. I also recognise this is like a Halloween kind of Saturday night. The likelihood of anyone being online is reasonably low, and which is one of the reasons why I'm very pleased that Lynn is there. Hello to you. But I also think a lot of people might be doing other things, which is also fine. I'm not that bothered. The main reason that I'm live actually is just because I thought I ought to crack on with my Smellcaster project, because my wife is out of the country. Sounds crazy. She's just a couple of 100 miles away. It's really it's not that bad. But yeah, she's gone away, and I don't have anything to do this weekend. Also, the car had an issue. I don't know whether Lynn knows this, actually. Probably she does. Yeah, the steering on the car and the wheels sort of disconnected. And so we're trying to work out what the problem is, but in the meantime, I don't feel like it's safe to drive. There was supposed to be a guy coming out to check over my car. I say my car, it's our car. But for the purpose of the internet, my car. So, yeah, there was a guy supposed to be coming out to check over the car. today. He was supposed to be arriving between 9 and 3. I got a phone call. Oh, no, I didn't. I got a doorbell ring about 5:45 this evening. And it was the Amazon driver. So it definitely wasn't that guy. I don't know where the RAC man went, but he didn't turn up, which was a bit disappointing. Although, I don't know, when we spoke to the mechanics yesterday, they also dropped the call, and when we tried to call back, the call centre was shut. So clearly they just wanted to go home, which was, yeah, a bit crap actually. I don't like it when people do that. I used to work in a call centre. In fact, I used to work in quite a few call centres, various different ones doing various different things, and I never ever did that to anybody, because I just think it's a horrible thing to do, especially if people have been waiting for hours and hours and hours to talk to you. Just to hang up like that and go home, how can you do that with a clear conscience? I just think that's a horrible thing to do. So I never ever did it. And I used to work in call centres for years. It's one of the things I used to quite like, actually, is working in call centres. I mean, the pay was rubbish, but I actually quite liked the work. Sometimes it was a bit mind-numbingly boring, especially when, even on tech support, actually, some of the questions were really complex and quite cool. And I did speak to a couple of celebrities who had problems with their phone, and I even got a letter from one of them saying thank you for your help, which was very nice of her. But there were also some real idiots at the phone and go, "Why is my phone not working? Have you turned it on?" "Oh yeah." Yeah, I mean, that happened more than you would imagine. But other than that, I mean, I did enjoy the work most of the time. Okay, I think that's done. I think the first thing I want to do with this solenoid setup is just basically put these quick release valves on. If all I do is that tonight, I'll be happy. It would be lovely to talk to some people, especially some regulars, if you are there. And Lynn, if you're still watching, please comment, because I am keeping an eye on the chat, but nothing's really happening. Unless I'm missing something. I don't think I'm missing something. Let's double check that. Nope. Nope, just those two. Number 1. What's that mean? You've got the crayon. Yeah. You're my top fan. There you go. I'm going to take a screenshot of that and rub it in your face next time I see you. She loves it. Right. Yeah, like I say, keep on getting all these. Got loads of them. I'm not going to run out of PTFE tape anytime soon. So I guess that's a good thing though. There's just so much plastic waste. It's a bit sad, really. So, see, now the other one didn't have the tear off bit, which is a bit weird. This one did. And actually, this one's okay. Or is it? Is it okay? Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to run out of bin space. I think I'm going to need to empty my bins today. They're normally okay for a couple of days, but I think this one's starting to overfill a little bit. Mainly just because of the solenoids. There's an awful lot of them. So. more plastic, more not plastic, cardboard, plastic, cardboard, plastic. Yeah. Now this is interesting. That one is made of metal. That is interesting. You can actually see on there fairly easily. Hopefully you can see that on camera. There's a tiny little inlet hole just there. That's where the air comes in. And likewise on here, that's where the air comes out, just straight down the barrel there. And that's basically what a solenoid is. That's how it works. Yeah. But this is very different, and I don't know, I mean, I think it's still, yeah, it feels still metal. It's just black. As opposed to aluminium or aluminum, depends on who you are and where you live. But it's essentially the same metal. Did you know, a lot of English people say, no, it's aluminium. It is actually aluminium because of the way that the naming conventions work on the periodic table. And I get that aluminum is easier to say, but it was thought to be an alloy of alum, and then when it was discovered to be not an alloy of alum, then it was deemed to be a new element called aluminium or aluminium, in a similar way to other iniums in the periodic table. So they just put inium on the end of alum, making aluminium or aluminium, which is why it's aluminium, not aluminum. But on the other hand, 90% of the world calls it aluminum, so I don't really care what you call it. Just depends on who you are and where you're brought up. The thing is, a lot of people get really precious about linguistics, and I studied linguistics for a PhD. Didn't get it due to funding, but that's another thing. I did it twice. And both times the funding ran out, which I'm not sore about at all. I am a bit. But yeah, people get really precious about linguistics, and I think there's a reason for it. I think, you know, people get very tied into the sorts of words that they use. Of course they do, because that's the way that they think. That's how they think. They get really, really precious about how they think and what they think, and that their view of what they're thinking is definitely the only possible way that anybody could ever think. But, you know, that's how racism starts and all that sort of stuff, so let's not go down that route. But yeah, people do get very upset about things like that. But the thing about linguistics, language changes over the years anyway. You know, do you really think that the language that you're speaking, whether it's English or another one, is the only original language? Because it's not. You're speaking a bastardized language anyway, so let's just go with it. Because as long as people can be understood, I think that's the most important thing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a massive pedant when it comes to stuff like that. I'm a massive pedant when it comes to linguistics, and especially grammar. If you put the comma or apostrophe in the wrong place, I will notice. I may not necessarily call you out on it, but I will definitely notice. And I think that comes from my publishing and authoring background, because I've written several books and I used to run a publishing house. So, yeah, I will be aware of it, whether or not I tell you about it or, you know, kick off. I try not to. Oh, come on, why is that not... It's not cutting now. There we go. Yeah, I try not to be that guy, you know. There's always that guy, right? I try not to be too anal about it. But, you know, I do definitely notice. I might silently judge you. That said, please put some comments in the chat, because I love hearing your comments on stuff. I do read all of it. I'm an avid reader. I don't ever really seem to have enough time to read books, although I do have quite a lot of time this weekend, so I might do that. I think I've completed Netflix. It's like a video game. I completed that, mate. Where are we? I've just done the wrong solid mode. It's not the end of the world. I'll just do another one. Yeah. I do feel like I've completed Netflix recently. I've completed Gen V. So if you haven't watched The Boys or Gen V, I would highly recommend it. It's not for the faint-hearted, though. There are some pretty weird scenes in it. It's like the original anti-woke, which I probably shouldn't say this on YouTube, but I think anti-woke is gaining a lot of traction, and that's probably not a bad thing. I think people need a bit more grit. Stop being so offended at everything. That said, if I do something that is against YouTube policy, because they protect a lot of people who get offended very easily, I would get demonetised, and I don't want to do that, because I couldn't possibly live without my £15 a month from YouTube. Oh well. I mean, it's a way of making money, I suppose, but I certainly don't get rich off YouTube, that is for sure. People say, oh, well, you've got thousands of followers and you must get loads of money off YouTube. Nope. Nope. It takes thousands upon thousands of views for even £1's worth of revenue, so the amount of effort I put into YouTube versus what I get out of it, I don't really even know why I'm still doing it, to be honest, but it kind of feels like I'm not just talking to the open air. It does feel a little bit community-like. And actually, over COVID in particular, I had quite a few viewers on my channel, especially on my live shows, which I really did enjoy doing. We haven't done very many of them recently, and certainly not consistently, and I think that's probably why our viewership has tanked a bit. I say our viewership, it's not just me, it's also my son as well. And he's a minor, so, you know, don't go breaking his heart. Please do join, watch, have a look. And yeah, if you're enjoying this live show, please do say hello. I think I might reintroduce Real or Fake and maybe make it a regular thing. Don't know. The problem is, I guess, during COVID, there really wasn't anything to do, but now, and it's probably a good thing for my own sanity, I suppose, I have a lot more to do now, and my social life is an awful lot more active than it was before. My wife and I do things now. We've got like social groups that we go to and talk to, and you know, even going out midweek to our Dungeons and Dragons group. You know, it's things like that. If you don't have that sort of thing in your life, YouTube is actually fairly easy to do. You can kind of keep up with it. But if there's anything else in your life, it tends to take priority, you know. And I've recently got a promotion as well, and my brain is definitely not in YouTube mode most of the time, which I think to be successful on YouTube, you've kind of got to be almost obsessed with it, I suppose. You've certainly got to spend more time doing it than I am prepared to. Whoops. Bring these things around. I like YouTube, but it's not my life. It's not the only thing in my life, and some people can't take that. I have had some people watch my stuff, and I think they are only interested in YouTube, or, you know, they get a bit obsessive and single-minded on certain things, and I just think I'm not really like that. I don't want to get like that either. Now, don't get me wrong, still need dedication, otherwise things like the smellcaster aren't going to get done, because this is an awful lot of work. I've just done another 3 solenoids while I'm talking to you. So here they are. They're all wired up. Well, not wired up yet. They have these things. So this goes in there, and then that's a quick release valve. So I need to do the PTFE tape, screw them all together, and that takes time. And, you know, it's also the fairly boring stuff that needs to be done, but I kind of thought, well, there's nothing bad that's going to happen by me going live. I don't think. So, you know, I'll go live and see what happens. If anyone joins me, great. If they don't, it's also okay. I'll live. I'm just going to assume that everyone's off eating candy apples and ghost marshmallows or I don't know, whatever. Probably not trick-or-treating tonight though, because that was yesterday, and being a Friday, it's quite a good night actually. And what year is it next year? It's 26, so that's not a leap year, meaning that Halloween next year is going to be on a Saturday, because the years advance by 1 day per year. So if it's a Friday this year, it's a Saturday next year, unless of course it's a bank holiday, not bank holiday, a leap year, in which case it's 2 days ahead. That's how you work it out. And if you want to know whether it is a leap year, you just divide it by 4. If it doesn't go, it's not a leap year. So 2028 is going to be the next leap year. So next year is going to be on a Saturday, which I think is even cooler actually, because you're not going to be rushing after work, which is what we were doing this year, because I finished work quite late on Friday, because I had a last minute, not really last minute, fairly late meeting with a very high boss man. Everything went well, but it did kind of mean that I wasn't able to get into the Halloween spirit, and certainly not wearing this sort of shirt, until after work, which is a bit of a shame. I think a lot of good things, as well as bad things obviously, but a lot of good things came from COVID, and one of them was working from home, which never really seems to have gone away fully, which I'm very thankful for, because it enabled me to move cities and be a bit closer to my family, and yeah, but also working from home I think is good for most people actually. I think there are some people who would benefit from being in an office environment, especially if you're quite lonely in your own home. But if your home life is okay, and you've got that sort of sociability, I think for most of those sorts of people, working from home is a good thing. Anyway, I've got very off topic just by talking to myself. So if you are there, please do say hi, say hello. I don't know how many people are... Ooh, there we go. Are online. I'm guessing not very many. Let's have a look. Let's go in here. Go live. Views. 9 people have been on, so that's quite cool. Okay, so I'm not actually sure how we can track the performance of this. I'm sure there is a way. In fact, I know there's a way because I used to do it, but I don't know how. So yeah, maybe we do. Is it that one? Go live. Yeah, that one. That's the one. Let's have a look at this one, shall we? Yeah, man, that's how to do it. I haven't done a live show in such a long time. It's actually quite frustrating. But maybe I will start doing some more. Anyway, next solenoid is done. So, just to recap, just in case anyone is coming online and seeing what I'm doing and just being utterly confused, I am currently inventing a smell machine. Whoops. I think I've just dropped something. Where did that go? There it is. Yeah, I'm inventing a smell machine, and it's going to direct smells from an air compressor. So at one end it's got an air compressor, at the other end it's got all of these outlets. In fact, actually, I'm kind of lying a little bit. So from one end it's an air compressor, and from another end it is a single outlet. That single outlet, though, has a whole bunch of stuff feeding into it, and those things that are feeding into it are these solenoid valve things. So that allows air either to pass through or it doesn't. And each of these solenoids needs to be controlled independently from a computer. That computer I'm wiring up right now during this live stream. I don't have my soldering iron here, it's actually downstairs. I'm going to need to do all of the soldering onto these a bit later. But I've tested 3 already, they all work. So now all I'm doing is just wiring up the solenoids and having a chat. So that's that really. So if you're here, it'll be lovely to hear from you. Please do say hello in the chat. It's really nice actually when we've got more than 1 or 2 people and they're chatting to each other. I really like that. I kind of appreciate it. And I find that when that sort of thing happens, we get a bit of a community going, and I think that's the best thing about when I was doing live streams regularly. That was the best thing. I used to love that. Sort of everyone coming on board, everyone chatting to each other, making comments about some of the things that I was talking about, and you know, obviously I would say what I feel about it, but everyone else was also chipping in as well, and it just felt like a bit more of a community, and I kind of miss it. I would like to open that up again, but obviously I need to do some regularity to that, and I guess I kind of need to be online all the time, which that's the difficulty for me. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to commit to every Saturday or any day, to be honest. All of the days seem to be different, with different things, different commitments, and I just don't know whether, because like my personal time is very precious to me, and I just don't know whether I've got enough of it that I can make a regular show. But you know, there's my angsty moment for the day. So where are we now? We're almost at 9 o'clock. I need to send a text message in a minute. Probably. We're almost at 9 o'clock UK time, which I think is 4 p.m.-ish American time, which might mean that we're going to get some people online at some point. So that'll be quite nice. If we could do that, that'd be lovely. But I also think it might not happen. In which case, that's okay. I'll live. It might be better, actually, if I also replace the thumbnail of this live stream, because I don't think it was particularly vibrant enough to catch people's attention, which is a mistake I often make on these live streams, that it doesn't sort of capture people's attention well enough. Because I think that my live streams are actually an awful lot better than a lot of them. I see some of these. There was one actually on TikTok which was bloody awful. it was just this girl with a sign up saying live stream will end at 6:40 or 6:30 or whatever, and all she was doing is just revising for exams, and it was literally just this while she was reading. It was just like, do something, be interesting. And I think that might have been during the COVID lockdowns. I think she was just revising for an exam. Well, I mean, good for her. She was revising and also making content, which apparently people were really enjoying. You know, people were commenting. She wasn't responding to any of them. I respond to everybody. If you are there, please do say hello, and I will respond. But for some weird reason, people like that get loads of views and I don't. And I'd love to know why. I really would. So far, views 12. That's not bad. So, yeah. If you're around, say hello, please. These scissors don't seem to be working anymore, and I don't know why. Have I done something to wreck them? Probably. I might sharpen them. Anyway. Whoops. Damn. Just dropped them. Or dropped one. Okay. Where? There we go. Yeah, so the crazy thing is that I'm fully aware that this is a mad invention. I do get that. I think you're probably not going to be too surprised to learn, though, that there is an awful lot to it. And I'll try and explain as much as I... Shush, you phone, watch thing. I'll try and explain as much of this as I can as I'm going through it. But it's going to be quite a lengthy process. But at the same time, I think it's going to be well worth watching. So I can see that there are 2 people online at the moment. Please say hello in the comments. I do read them and I will shout you out. So please say hello. It's not going to cost you anything. It means an awful lot to me, though. All of the interaction and people saying hello and stuff. It's kind of what, I won't say it gets me going, but you know, it makes me happy. And it's kind of the whole reason that I'm here, actually. I do love to see people enjoying my content. So please do say hello and I will shout you out. Which one of these? There we go. I think that's the one. I've got so many of these things. They're PTFE rolls and they are stacking up at the moment because I've got quite a lot of these solenoids. So the solenoids, for those of you who are just new to watching this, are the valves basically that I'm going to be using on this smell maker. So that they are pumping out different smells, and each one of the valves is connected to a different smell, and each one of those is connected to a different pin on the computer system so that I can program each one of them. So the way that that's going to work, if I just click on this one, and where is it? That one there. So this is the control panel that I designed. So I'm potentially going to design something else as well in a second that you can see me design it, and I'll show you how to basically design this. This is all linked up to Home Assistant. So Home Assistant is a smart home system that's free to use, but it does take a bit of sort of knowledge, learning. There's an awful lot to learn on Home Assistant. It's not the most intuitive of systems, but it is awesome. It's incredibly well thought out. The user experience, it's not brilliant. It's an awful lot better than it used to be, but it still has a bit of a way to go, I think, before it's fully mature. But that said, there's loads and loads of people in the Home Assistant community. People are joining it left, right and centre on a fairly regular basis now, which is brilliant, I think. I mean, it's great for the community. I'm just going to start tidying up a bit. All of these completed solenoids can go in a completed solenoid pile over here, I think. And then I'll use those a bit later on. Because, yeah, they don't come fully assembled, which I guess is a sensible thing for postage, but it is a pain in the backside when you've got 13 of these to wire up properly. And you've also then got to put all the PTFE tape on and screw in the terminal blocks. It's just a faff. Because 13 multiplied by the 2 valves that you've got to do, multiplied by the terminals, multiplied by the MOSFET boards, it's just tricky.
Please take your tablets now.
I'm not going to take my tablets now. I've already taken them. But yeah, I will send a message to my wife to make sure she takes her tablets now. We haven't got a huge amount of tablets to take. But yeah, I think the number of things I've got to do for each of these solenoids, and then duplicate it multiple times for each of these solenoids, it starts to become a bit of a pain, really. But it's not that bad. It's okay. And it'll be worth it in the end, because once this is all done, which I'm hoping is going to be done by Christmas, it's going to be phenomenal. And it's also only the first step, believe it or not. The smell machine is only the first step in a much, much, much bigger plan, which is, I think, infinitely more impressive and important to the world. And that's not too much of a over-dramatisation either, I think. What was that? I'm guessing it's another roll of, yeah, it was PTFE tape. Yeah, so the overall plan, the big plan for this, is that I want to make sure that my Magical Man Cave is as interactive and immersive as possible. So, for those of you who don't know, on my other channel, Magical Man Cave, I have converted my garage into a wizard pub, which is as mad as it sounds. And it does look like a wizard pub. It's now complete. But in a similar way to Disney World, Disneyland, it's never really going to be complete. There's always going to be something else that I'm going to be working on, and my next project is a big one, of which the Smellcaster, which is the smell machine that I'm making now, is only a part of that next stage. So it's kind of like Man Cave 2.0, I suppose. And what that is the full immersion rig. And that full immersion rig, yes, it involves smells, but it also involves haptics. It involves basically the compressed air line, I suppose, is kind of it's a 2. It's the 2.0 bit. And that compressed air line is going to be able to do things like ring doorbells. And I say doorbells plural because they will be bells, literally bells, not sort of ding dong kind of bells, but ring a ding ding bells. And they're going to hang near the fireplace, which they already do actually. But there's going to be a little line that's going to puff air directly at them, so that they're going to ring like ghostly bells. That's all going to be connected to my electronic doorbell and fired off using Home Assistant. That in itself, that's part of the issue, but it's not the clever bit. The clever bit is where I'm going to connect AI to, what's that? Oh dear. Yeah, so that is where I'm going to add AI to it. and have the AI tell me a story, and my smart home respond to that story, and respond intelligently. Now that may, in and of itself, sound relatively easy to do, but I have invented a new markup language, a new programming language essentially, to enable that to happen really slickly and smoothly, and also integrate with the Smellcaster machine, which obviously I haven't made yet. But the whole syntax around what I've done with that markup language, it will allow me to do some really very impressive things. And we've tested it already on a very sort of light basis, and it works. And we tested it last year, actually, shortly before I published a book about how to do it. And I published it, and then literally 3 days after I got the proof copy of the book, Amazon released something called Alexa Plus, which kind of crapped all over my plans. But because I'm not going to compete with Amazon, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to release a commercial product in competition with Amazon, because that's business suicide. You know, why would you do that? But there is something that I can do, and that is to release it for free. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to release it for free, and if that means that Amazon get annoyed, okay, they're not going to be able to stop me, because I came out with the idea first. I've also invented a way of doing it, which is mine, and the syntax is mine, and the thought process around it is mine. The database setup is mine. They can't touch me on that. It's protected by me being the only one knowing how to do it. They can create something similar, and I think they kind of have. My way of doing it is better, I think. Which is a very unpopular thing to do, isn't it? Talk about how wonderful you are. But on this occasion, I think it's warranted. I think for me to be able to say, well, you don't need to do it on the cloud, you can do it locally. So you don't need to pay someone like Amazon to do it for you. You can actually do it on your own computer systems. It doesn't take a massive amount of money. It does take some money, but it doesn't take a massive amount of money. It doesn't take a monthly subscription, and it's all going to be private, it's all going to be local, it's all going to be customizable to you and free forever. So once it's all set up, you can expand it infinitely. You can do crazy things like a Smellcaster machine to basically create whatever you want whenever you want and link it all together. So I'm kind of doing this almost as a proof of concept for me, to say I've invented this way of doing it, and if it can work for a smell machine, why shouldn't it work for your toaster, or a robot vacuum cleaner, or any of the other normal stuff like lights and all of that sort of thing. I've tested it with lights already, and it works. So I actually got my computer to tell me a story, and in context with the story, because large language models are basically context engines, it was able to turn things on and off that made sense for the story. So for example, it would say you're walking down a path at midnight, and then it would turn the lights blue. You can also do things, provided you've got fog machines and all of that sort of theatrics, you can link all of that together using my system, and it would trigger that automatically, and you don't even need to program it. So, I think that's a super cool advancement. And yes, Alexa Plus is now starting to do things like that, but you do also need to declare them, and that's something that my system doesn't really need to do. it just kind of goes, right, this is on the system and therefore that's working. So yeah, I think my system is better. And it's free. So double whammy there. Okay, I'm down to my last 2 solenoids. I think I'm going to log off after that. But it has been fun talking to you. I also need to send a text message, which I will do right now. All done. Right. There we go. Yeah, so I'm down to my last 2 solenoids, which I will do now. I'll stay online while I do that, and I'll also, oops, just tidying up a little bit. Let's get rid of the desktop now, and go back to here. There we are. Cool, so we had 21 views at one point, that was good. Like I say, if you're there, just please do say hello, because I think it's going to be really nice to say hello to everybody. So, I know that for some people, a live stream like this might be a little bit different. And certainly for some of the regular viewers, you know I used to do a full-on show and used to sort of have regular bits where I would play something like this. Real or fake? So we would sort of play a game called Real or Fake, and you know we could even do. Don't know whether I've got this. No, I probably need to activate certain things on here, but we've got, you know. Is that going to play? Yeah. So we've got sound effects, all of that sort of thing. So I used to do a full-on show. I just don't have enough time to do that anymore, unfortunately. I don't know. If there was the demand for it, maybe I would do that again. But for now, I think this is the only sort of thing that I've got enough time for, really, which is a shame. Right. Hi. Hello to you. I know you're watching. Please do say hello in the chat and I will shout you out, which is nice. If anyone's watching, either now or later, please do put something in the comments or chat so I know that you're there and you're not just sort of bouncing. I know that there are some people that have been watching for a while, which is lovely. But you're also quite silent, so, you know, don't worry if it's only you and me. That's how things grow, you know. That's how audiences expand, one at a time. I know there are some channels out there that make, you know, millions of views. Oh, millions of views. I fully accept that this sort of channel is not going to do that because it takes a certain kind of mindset, quite an unusual mindset, I think, to make things differently. And if you're here, you're interested in this mad science and you're interested in doing things differently, and I applaud you for that, because I think it's really important that when the world is all doing the same thing and you've got a whole bunch of sheeple all acting in exactly the same way, independent thought seems to be the last thing on everybody's mind. And I would really like it if everyone started thinking a bit more independently, started thinking a bit more for themselves. So this is my political message out to the world right now. It would be lovely, wouldn't it, if everyone can start thinking for themselves. But the problem is that that's the difficult thing to do. And I'm not saying that you always need to pick the difficult thing to do. but often that's the right thing to do. The difficult choices are normally the right ones to do, and that doesn't mean that you've got to make your life difficult all the time, because frankly sometimes the easiest thing to do is the most obvious thing to do. It's the whole Occam's razor sort of thing. The simplest solution is normally the best one, and I would definitely agree with that, but at the same time I don't just want people thinking like everybody else. It would be nice, wouldn't it, if we could all just think a little bit more independently, make our own judgments as to whether or not this is the right way of doing something. And I also recognise that a magical smell machine is utterly bloody mental, but that's what I'm making, so let's make a magical smell machine. I can see that there are a couple of people online at the moment, so say hello please. If you do say hello in the chat, I will shout you out. I can see it. I'm monitoring it, and I have shouted out those people who've already said hello. So it would be great if you could say hi too, and then we can connect on the internet. That'd be awesome. I don't need to come to your house for dinner, but if you just say hello, then we can say hello back and forth, and it'll be nice. So what I'm doing at the moment, I'm just putting together these solenoids and shooting the stuff with you, saying what comes to mind, because that's what happens on live streams, I guess. And if no one's going to say anything back, I'm just going to keep on waffling and saying what I think of the world. So nobody wants that, please interact with me. So what I'm doing at the moment, I'm just doing these solenoids, and then once that's done, I think the next thing I would want to do, if I'm going to stay online, which I think I probably will because I need to get stuff done, and this is quite motivating for me, even if all I'm doing is talking into an empty room. There's no one else in the house, so who cares? I may as well just talk to an empty room. And it's quite comfortable here. I've got a nice chair, and I'm getting some view time on my channel, which is always a good thing. But yeah, please do say hello, and I can explain what I'm doing. So if you've got any questions, I will explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it this way. So I'm putting together at the moment a whole bunch of solenoids, which is kind of like a valve. And those valves are going to be each connected to one of these things, which is a smell pod. And that is connected to a one-way valve at each end, which is going to essentially make it an airtight pocket of smell stuff. And there's going to be a compressed air line that will go through that, which will then carry that smell out into the Magical Man Cave. So for those of you who don't know, this channel is my very first channel, but my Magical Man Cave channel, which is my second channel, shows how I actually made my garage into a magical wizard pub. And so this smell machine is going to go in the Magical Man Cave to basically turn the smell into something different. So I've got, at the moment, I've got, I think it's 12 maybe different smells. That's all I'm going to start with for now, which sounds like a lot actually, and it kind of is a lot. But I'm going to link up all of these solenoids, all of the smells and all of the boards into a single system that's controlled using some programming language that I've written myself. And what that will then do, and this is where it's totally original, totally new and quite exciting, I think, is it's going to link everything together using a large language model, so AI. I know it's a word that catches people's attention, isn't it? And the AI is going to decide for me, or for itself, which smells to deal out depending on the story that it's telling me. So the whole idea really is that I'm going to link this up into a storytelling mode, basically. And the smell machine is going to interact with that story, and it's going to, pardon me, it's going to deal up the smells as part of that story. It's also going to be connected to the whole smart home. It's going to turn on lights, flash things, turn on the... I've actually got a lightning machine in my magical man cave as well, and it's going to activate the magical lightning. It's going to activate some sounds. I've got a dragon in the loft, and it's going to sort of unleash the dragon when it needs to do that as well. So there's a lot of stuff in the magical man cave that can be activated automatically already, but the smells, at the moment it just smells like a magical man cave, which is kind of nothing. I do have a fireplace that smells like chocolate, so when I turn on the flames smell like chocolate, but this is kind of inspired by it, but it is going to be definitely different. So in the story or in the Dungeons and Dragons campaigns or whatever, if we go to a bookshop, that's the latest smell that I've got, old books, and it does genuinely smell like an old bookshop. It's kind of a musty, leathery, papery kind of smell, which I think is kind of cool, and it smells exactly like it should do, really, for that sort of thing. But I've also got black cherry, peppermint, pumpkin spice, and rain. I think I've got one more, and I can't remember what it is. But I am getting a whole bunch of them delivered, I think, tomorrow. And they're going to be like Christmas cookie, and baked bread actually is arriving fairly soon. I thought that should have been coming today, but it's not here yet. But then again, I do have, I think it's this one. No, not that one. Where is it? This one. Yeah, so I do have all of these smells already programmed in. I want to make some more of those to cover some of the things that I've already that I've also ordered. So there's going to be things like Christmas cookies, and I think it would be quite nice if I designed some of those. Now, what I mean by that really is I'm going to be quite light on the whole designing. So if you can hear fireworks, I don't know whether you can, whether the mic picks it up or not. So I apologise for that. Obviously, it's around Halloween / bonfire night. Now the weird thing about bonfire night, for those of you who don't live in the UK, bonfire night's a weird concept. And basically what that means is about, I think it was 400-ish years ago, maybe a few more, there was a guy called Guy Fawkes, and he wanted to blow up Parliament. And hundreds of years later, we now burn an effigy of him because having him hung, drawn and quartered wasn't bad enough punishment. We've got to take the mickey out of him now by setting fireworks off, just like, ha ha, look, you tried to make it explode and now we're doing it. As a concept, it's just a totally alien one to most people. But yeah, we set bonfires and we burn an effigy of him, almost like this weird voodoo doll. But anyway, the whole idea of that is that we set off fireworks. It's kind of like the 4th of July for the UK. Anyway, moving on. Right, what were we doing? Yeah, so I think what I want to do is, over in Photoshop, I'm going to make this happen. If I do this, or should I do it? Oh, I'll do it over here. Okay, so we have this here. This is basically, oh, it's not working. This is one of the buttons that I did for the Smellcaster. This is the ozone one. So this is going to be sort of petrichor maybe, but I want this to be, I think I need to, how do we make this big? Hopefully that's going to be, I think, yeah, there you go. It needs to be a bit bigger, just so I can make it a decent size, and then I'll also use this sort of font as well, and yeah, we should be able to make something. I think probably the quickest and easiest way of doing it though is to use ChatGPT, because why not? I don't particularly fancy doing all of the design from scratch, so we'll go over here into ChatGPT and we'll say create a new Smellcaster button. It knows what the Smellcaster is, by the way. In this style, actually a new bunch of Smellcaster buttons in this style for these smells, and I'll do things like, actually I'll upload some photos. Come on, computer. I'm going to upload these ones, just so it knows, some reference. And then I'll just say for these smells, and then I'll say Christmas cookies. And then I also need to look up all of the different smells that I had planned in. Maybe rotten eggs. Because I want to get that one. Yeah, fart is another one. I do want a fart smell. Oh no, that's interesting. It says that the freshly baked bread smell is here and being delivered, but I don't know where it's been delivered. It's not in here. Huh. Well, I will have to find that then, because if it has been delivered, maybe it's been posted through my letterbox and I didn't realise. Okay. Yeah, I can't find the other smells that I've done, but okay. And make some up. There we go. So it uploads those images just here. It will take the sort of style guide that I've uploaded, and it will say hopefully it'll create a bunch of Smellcaster buttons in that style for those smells: Christmas cookies, rotten eggs, fart, and make some up. So hopefully it'll make some up. I don't know what they're going to come up with, but this will be fun. So if you haven't invented anything yet, using ChatGPT and AI, I don't think is a too bad thing. One thing I would say though is you kind of need to interact with it. Don't just offload your thinking to an AI bot. What have we got here? Oh, we've got Christmas cookies. That's good. We've got rotten egg. That's okay. Presumably then it will come up with a fart and maybe one other. I quite like that. That's right. Toothpaste. Huh, okay. Yeah. I'm going to take those and then I'm going to put them into my template. Pick 4 more that would provide a good ambience for the Smellcaster to create immersive stories. Avoid the smells I have already above, because I don't want any kind of repeats. But in the meantime, while it's doing that, I will take this Okay, what's it doing now? Rain on stone, fireplace smoke. Ale. Yeah, okay. Do pine and ale. Yeah, hopefully it'll only do 2. Hopefully it's not going to do pine and ale in the same smell, because that would be weird. But it does things like that sometimes, because, you know, it's only an AI, it's not an intelligent human. But it's getting there, it's certainly getting there. And I'm a massive advocate of AI. I think it's one of the best things that we can do. Copy image, and then I'll go over into Photoshop and drop it in there in a minute. But it might interrupt this if I do that too soon. So let's just take a little break. And like I say, if you're there, say hello in the comments, and I'll shout you out. Okay, what are we doing here? Huh. It's doing something weird. Rain on stone. Yeah, see, I didn't ask it to do that. Fireplace smoke. I've already got wood smoke anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. I think I'm probably going to do... I think I'm probably going to keep the wood smoke. I don't think I'm going to keep fireplace smoke. Rain on stone. I could take that one. Because I do have rain as a smell. But I've also got rain... if I look on here, I already have rain, so I probably won't have rain on stone. I think that's a bit too specific, and it's a bit of a duplication. So I'm not going to use these two, but I might use these two, Tavern Ale and Forest Pine. I quite like that. So what I do, I go over into Photoshop, click on N for new, which appears in this window, click on Create, and then Control and V. What that will then do is to take these ones. So I'm going to take these 3, Christmas cookies, rotten eggs and fart, and what I'll do is cut around the Christmas cookies, like that. I think you can also do a select and a feather. There we go. Let's do a feather of 5 pixels, sounds about right. And copy. Then go into Smells PSD and output that one. Then we'll scroll right back down again to about there. Actually, I'm going to do it in a slightly different way. So we're going to do this instead and delete out some of that feathering. No, we're not. I'm going to do it in a different way again. Let's get rid of that. So what we'll do, I will take this as a chunk there, copy that, go to Smells, paste it, scale it down a bit, zoom in a bit, maybe not that much, move it over, and then I'll probably scale it down a little bit more, and then we'll take this, I'll whack that up to 32, and then I'll delete that background. Then I'll go over here, I'll take out the rain. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, and then we've got a blank one, and then that's basically it then. And then I will duplicate this one, duplicate layer, hide that, whoops. That's interesting, why is it doing that? Oh, it's because it's over here. I'll just call it cookies. Hide that one. Then we can move the effects layer. I'll Alt and move it, which then duplicates it, and then that one can then be exported. Actually, if I just merge visible, then that's the cookies, and that's done. Then we go over here, duplicate this one again, and we'll call that one Pine, because I know we want to do Pine. Then we'll take the effects of this one, and we'll move that over here. Ooh, actually, no, 1 second. I've made a boo-boo. So we've got this bevel on here, but we want to remove this one. Then we merge visible. And then we put the effect back on. So we do the effect after we've merged. Okay, like that. So then we'll remove that one, we'll duplicate this one, and we'll call that Pine. And we'll make that one visible. Right, next we then go over here. Actually, let's do rotten eggs next. Copy that one, go over here, paste that one, scale it down a bit. And a similar sort of thing, just take out the background. Then we'll merge visible again. And then copy the effect onto this one. So that's what it'll look like. And then that's all done, so we'll hide it. Then duplicate this one again. And we'll call this one Fart, because we want to create a fart smell. Because believe it or not, I do want a fart smell. Then we'll take this one. The reason for a fart smell is because Ferdinand, who is my talking skull, for those of you who don't know, I invented a talking skull for the Magical Man Cave. He curses people, and the problem with cursing people is that if there's no real jeopardy, it doesn't really mean anything. So we need to do something bad, and a fart smell is pretty bad. Some people online have told me that I need to do like a skunk smell, similar to what happens in Disney World when Figment does it in Epcot. Which, I mean, that's pretty bad. That one is pretty bad. So yeah, maybe I need to do something like that. If we call that ale, I think we can do that. And then over here, yeah, I'm not going to do toothpaste because we've already got peppermint, and peppermint and toothpaste. Yeah, I think those are two separate things. So I'm not too worried about that. But next we are going to go back over to ChatGPT, where it's invented this for us. So we'll just copy image and go back to Photoshop and then paste. And this time we'll basically do exactly the same again. Just take all this stuff, copy, go to smells, paste, and we'll scale this one down. I mean, all of these buttons don't need to be absolutely perfect, as long as they look roughly the same, but obviously with a different icon, then I'll be happy with that. If you're watching, please do say hello, by the way. I always respond, and it'll be lovely to see you. Merge visible, take the effect again, dunk it on there, and then hide. And this time, I think we've already got a pine, actually, haven't we? I'm sure I created it somewhere. No, I didn't. Okay, maybe I didn't. So duplicate layer, and we'll call that pine. Make that visible, go over here, grab the pine again. So basically we just kind of keep on repeating. copy that one, go in here, paste. And that's it. I mean, it's not great business showing you how to do this, but I would much rather show you how to do it than have someone like Amazon steal it from me and sell it back to you. No one wants that, do they? Okay, forest pine, nice. So that's all done, and then what we do, we would then open. These are my thumbnails for this video actually. I think it's in E and then into Smellcaster from memory. There we go. So we're going to open this, and the reason that we're going to open this is because all we want is an image, and we want to understand what the image size is. So the width is 100 and the height is 89. Cancel that because we don't need it. And then we'll go back to here and we'll go to image, image size, and we'll shrink that to 100, which then automatically defaults to height 89. Click on OK. And then this one can then be output by going save a copy, and then it goes into Smellcaster, but we're going to change it to a PNG. That will then be pine. Click on enter, and it will say, do you want it as a large file size, small, medium or small? We're going to go large. It's a very small image anyway, it's not particularly a large image. Then once we've done that, we will hide the pine button and go to Ale, File, Save a Copy, go here to Ale, like that, large, then we'll go Fart, Save a Copy, we'll call it Fart, and again PNG, okay, and then Rotten Eggs, File, Save a Copy, rotten underscore eggs because it's 2 words, and then PNG, save, okay, and then I think, was there one more? Yeah, there's Christmas cookies. So I'm going to call this one file save as, no, file save a copy, PNG, and we'll call this one Christmas underscore cookies, enter, okay. Then I'm going to undo all of this. So I've selected various different layers, I just want to undo them, mainly so that we get this big thing back again, and then I can save, and then that is everything. So actually I need to redistribute or reapply the effect, and then file save. Then that's like my master, that's the one that I do all of the work on. So as I create more smells for the Smellcaster, that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to create it in this file, and I'm going to output them as smaller versions, but I need to do this for mastering them. Okay, once that's all done, here's the cool thing. So we then go into the Home Assistant tab, go into File Editor. Okay, now this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So Home Assistant is quite a complicated beast. If you don't know how to do it, there's quite a learning curve, but I'll show you the simple bit. So you go into File Editor, then you go to www, which is this bit here. And then within that, that's like the one folder that you're able to expose to the internet effectively. I'm not exposing it to the whole wide internet without any security or anything, but it needs to be exposed to my network so that I can control it on the Smellcaster. So in here I've got a folder which is labelled smells, I believe. Where are we? Is it in here? Mancave feed, images. It might just be in. There you go. www/images, and then in smellcaster_buttons. That's where they're all hidden. And then we go to plus for a new file, and we click here. We're going to call this one. No, actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to go cancel. We're going to upload. That's it. I haven't done this for a while. So we go to upload. Then we go to file. That's then going to look on my PC. And all of those files that I've just created are going to appear here. So Tavern Ale, that's the first one. Click on open. It'll take a while. It just uploads it to my server downstairs. So it churns through. It goes, okay, I need this image, and it's going to chuck it on my server downstairs as ale.png. We then click on OK, and then it says upload successful over here, and then we just go again and click on file. We'll go to Christmas cookies this time, click on open. And when you click on open, what it does is not only opens it on my local PC, it then uploads it to the file system downstairs. It says Christmas_cookies.png, so it basically takes the file name that I've already done, and then click on OK, upload successful again. So then we'll go over here, we'll upload the next one, which I think is fart or rotten eggs, can't remember, one of those. Either way is one that I'm not going to be particularly keen on smelling, but I will need to make this a sort of living, breathing system. The next thing I also need to do for the Smellcaster is a carbon filter sucking system, but that's maybe for a bit later on. What I will probably do is to disconnect the fart until such time as that smelling system or carbon system is fully working. But I call it a gulping system. It's a way of sucking in a large amount of air into a carbon filter, which then basically kills the smell completely. So I need it to come out and come back in again in a similar way to the Disney Smellitzer. Okay, so that's all done. Then we go to the next one. I think that one is rotten eggs. So we've done fart. We've got all of these. We've got forest pine. There we go. So the forest pine one. I think I just called it pine. So we might just need to change the name of it. Yeah. So I'm going to call this one forest pine. Forest_pine. And click on OK. So that changes the name from what I saved it locally to what it's saved as on my Home Assistant server. And it's important that I do that so that if it says forest pine, it's named forest pine, because otherwise it gets very confusing. So I'm going to make sure that it does all of that, and I'll show you kind of how to get all of these smells into the user interface and then into the pie. So we'll do that in a second. So we've got forest pine, and then we go into rotten eggs and click on open. Got an itchy tash. If you're watching this and you're interested, by the way, please do say hello in the chat. I'm always keeping an eye on it, so when it does pop up, I will see you and I will say hello. Okay, so that's that bit all done. Believe it or not, there's nothing really more to it than that. But now we need to kind of go back to overview and into here, and we need to update all of these things. So the way to do that is to click on this one up here, which is edit dashboard. And then in these three dots, it says open dashboard menu. So if we click on that, go to raw configuration editor, which is basically, this is all of my my YAML, my code for everything. And then we've got here, we've got things like this stuff, right? So this is type picture. So it's just an image, and this is for the wood fire. So basically I'm going to copy all of that here. I'm going to take it like that, copy it, go down to the next line, and then make sure that we are at the right place, which I think is there, and then we'll paste it. Now we can test whether or not this is right by doing this. Click on save. Just ignore that error. I need to sort that out, but just ignore it for now. It says saved up here, and then we go exit, and then we're here. So in theory, we click on done. If I click on this, it should fire off exactly the same, because it's basically a copy of this button here, which clicked this one. So if I click on this one, it does exactly the same, and it did work. So we then go back to here. So we know that we're doing this right. So we go to Raw Configuration Editor, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then here, what we're going to do, we're going to change this. So this one we now want to be, let's say Forest Pine, which is the latest one that we've done, Forest_Pine, and all it'll do is exactly the same thing. Okay, so we'll click on save. Again, ignore the error. Click on done, and what we've got here, this obviously isn't working. So what we need to do, we need to go back and find out why. So go to Raw Configuration Editor all the way down to the bottom, and it's called Forest_Pine. It might be uploaded as pine.png. Let's see. This is one of the reasons why I chose Forest Pine as opposed to any of the others. Click on done. Yeah, so it's uploaded as pine.png, so we need to change that. So we go back into File Editor, go to this one, and then all the way down to the bottom, www, go to Images, Smellcaster Buttons, and then we find pine.png. Click on this one here, and it will say rename. So we need to call it forest_pine.png. Apply, rename successful, and then if we go back to the overview, into the smells, that one should be, if we refresh it, that's interesting. Not sure why. Let's go back into the file editor and see whether or not I've done something stupid. It might just be that it hasn't updated yet. So go www, into Images, Smellcaster Buttons, and let's have a look at Pine. Is Pine there? Doesn't appear to be. Forest_Pine is though. So we go back into Overview, into Smells again, and then if we go into Edit Dashboard, and then Raw Configuration Editor, all the way down to the bottom, and then we'll change this to G-Pine. That's just so that it gives us an error, hopefully. And that's important that it does that, because we need to check whether this is going to change when we change it back again. So we need sort of an interim stage. Raw Configuration Editor all the way down to the bottom. And then here, we're going to call that Forest_Pine, which is the right name. Oops. Save. OK. Close. And done. And then if we refresh it, in theory, yeah, it doesn't seem to be working. That's interesting. That is interesting. I wonder why. Okay, well, let's skip that one. I will probably need to reboot this, so it might be just that. So what we'll do, I'll put that as ale instead. I mean, again, it should probably be Tavern Ale, but we'll call it ale for now. Then save, and then the other thing that I want to do here is to change this. So I will call that Tavern_ale // Now this is the payload. This is what the content of the MQTT message says. And so what I want to do is to have the topic smellcaster_play and tavern_ale / one being what is in that topic. And the reason for that is so that when it sends it across, there can be a script that will then decode it. Basically, it will say, okay, so you want the Tavern Ale smell, and you want to play it for 1 second, which is this number here. So we can do all of that sort of stuff. This is just the style. So this is to apply like a clicky button thing. So we click on save, OK, come back over here and go, there it is. Tavern Ale. So click on done. Now we're not going to go click on done. What we're going to do is go all the way back down here, and we're going to start adding more and more and more of these. So we've got the Tavern Ale. We also want copy, paste, and there. Paste another one, and we want this one to be, we'll call it Pine again. I'm not sure whether that's the right one, but we'll see that. And then we'll also call this one forest_pine. We can rename everything later if we need to. And then we'll go there again, and we'll do rotten eggs. And we'll also take that one, copy, and paste it there. And then what have we got? We've also got fart as well, haven't we? So we'll copy all of this, copy, and then we'll go back, 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 paste again, and then we'll do fart, and we'll call this one fart as well. Now, just bear in mind what's happening here, the payload, because that will become important in a moment. So we'll save that, and we'll do all of this. And then here we've got Tavern Ale, Forest Pine, Rotten Eggs, and Fart. Now, was there another one? Let's go over here and have a look. So there's Pine, we've got that, Ale, we've got that, Fart, we've got that, Rotten Eggs, and Christmas Cookies, which I always keep forgetting. So let's do that one as well. Raw configuration editor all the way down to the bottom. Whoops, all the way down to the bottom. Copy all of this, because there's no point redrawing it again. And then we'll call that one Christmas_cookies. Copy that one, place it in here, save, OK. Alrighty, so that one's there. Then we click on done, and what happens now, you click on that one and it sends a message. Now, we can't guarantee that this is actually true. So what we'll do, we will confirm whether or not this is actually sending it. So this is the cool bit. So we go into integrations, over here to MQTT, just ignore the errors for a minute. And then if we click here, we can actually see, this is where I was testing the black cherry, but what we can also do is to start listening to a topic. So if we change this to Smellcaster /play, which is the topic, you can actually start listening to it. And it's got black cherry /2 as the last thing that was sent at 9:58. That's only because it's a legacy thing. I need to switch that out. But if I now go to my phone, I can activate the smells dashboard that I've just created, because it now populates everything on here. And actually, Forest Pine doesn't seem to be on there, so I think maybe we did update it. It's just not updated on my computer yet. So if we click on Christmas Cookies, like this, then what happens is, on the screen here, so just there, it says Christmas_cookies. If we click on Rotten Eggs, it updates just here to Rotten_eggs. If we click on Fart, it says Fart, and if we click on Ale, it says Ale. So that means that this dashboard is working. And by the way, if I click on this one, I don't know what that one does. Forest Pine, good. So it's just the image that isn't working, but everything else is working. So what we can now do is to go back to the overview, click on smells, and then we know that this image here is wrong, and it's probably just a cache issue. So we just need to change the cache. So we'll go to Raw Configuration Editor, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and look for Pine, because I think, yeah, I just named it wrong. So we'll call that Forest_Pine. Click on Save, OK. Close that one. Click on Done, and then although it's wrong on here, but I think if I go here and scroll down to refresh it, it does appear. So I need to clear the cache on my PC, but it's working on my phone, and that's the main thing that actually matters. Now, although I've got a pretty graphical user interface, I don't really need this because of the way that I'm going to rig it all up. But for testing, this is kind of important. So currently we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 17 smells, which is probably too many. Is that right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, yeah, 17. There's probably too many because I don't have as many solenoids as that, but I could possibly switch out some things. Maybe I could combine rotten eggs with fart. Don't know. Maybe I'm not going to have wet dog. I don't know. I do want some bad smells in there though, which I know sounds like a strange thing, but again, it's about the jeopardy. If Ferdinand starts cursing people and saying I'm going to make it fart in here, you want that to be a thing that you're worried about, because otherwise it's not going to be as integral as otherwise you might make it. Okay, so the next thing then is to go over to here, which is the Smellcaster smell, and bear in mind that we've just been sending all of these signals by clicking all of these buttons, and what happens is it does all of this. So what it says is basically you've sent a whole bunch of stuff that I recognise, i.e. the wood fire, all of this stuff. Wood fire, yeah, is all working fine. As soon as you get to Christmas cookies, it says unknown smell. Let me expand this a little bit. So it says unknown smell Christmas cookies, ignoring, which means that because it doesn't know how to map that, it's not doing anything. And that's a good thing, because it knows that something is coming through. It just doesn't know what to do with it. So if we go back here into the Smellcaster Pi, rather than activating it using the Python script, we can say, oops, sudo, got fat fingers, sudo nano, and it can actually edit it. So this is how to make all of that work. So here we have, there is somewhere, where is it? There should be a pin map. Please hold, because I don't want to show you my password. There we go, right. So here we've got all of the black cherry, freshly baked bread, all of those sorts of things. All we now need to do is to add something in for all of the other smells. All of these pins here are related to pins on the board on the Pi. So all we need to do is to specify different pins that we can use to activate the different smells, and then just map them. So for example, we should be able to go in here, which is into ChatGPT, and just say, look at this pin map for my Pi, and cut and paste all of this. Oops. Cut and paste all of this into ChatGPT. So the other thing is, you don't really need to know how to program. I do, but you don't need to. And then what we can do is just say, tell me how to amend this to include correct pin mapping for the following smells. And we're going to have tavern underscore ale. We're going to have forest underscore pine. We're going to have rotten underscore eggs. Christmas underscore cookies. And I put that as a capital C, which was wrong. And what else do we have? I think, is that it? Oh, and fart, obviously. Right. So if we click on upload, what that will do is upload all of the code and the prompt and some of the things that I need to include, and it will do all of the coding for me. So it says we've got it all set up nicely, here's the pins that we can do, and then it outputs all of the code with all of the new sense as well. So what we can then do is to take all of this code, copy, go back to, where are we? Back to here. Oops. And we'll delete all of that, and oh dear, what did I just do? I think I've got to say no to that and then go back. Right, let's try that one more time. Right. Let's add a bit of space so that we know what we're doing here. And then we can paste all of that. And then a few... Oh, that was weird. No, that's not what we wanted to do at all. Okay, just ignore all of me. Let's go here. Let's go all the way down to here. Control K to delete. It technically cuts, but it just means that we've got a bit of spare space. Then go back to here, where we can copy the code, go over to the Raspberry Pi, up here, Shift and Insert to paste, Control S, Control X, and then go back to starting it. And then what we'll do, over in the user interface, I'll click on Christmas cookies, which previously wasn't working, and what we'll see is smellcaster _ play Christmas cookies /1, okay, Christmas cookies on, will off after 1 second, and then GPIO 20, pin set to low, smell is Christmas _ cookies off. So all of that is working, and we can also do that with rotten eggs. Exactly the same thing happens. Forest pine, exactly the same thing happens. It now recognises all of these new smells. They're all mapped properly, and all we then need to do is on the Pi itself physically to connect the pins up, and also to connect the ground to a different one of these blocks that I've already done, and then connect all the wires to the relevant solenoids, and we're done. And then just kind of keep on rinsing and repeating. So that's how to create a smellcaster. In my next video, I'm going to show you sort of what that all looks like connected to the air as well. At the moment, because I don't have my compressor all set up and all of this stuff isn't yet done, I do need to do some soldering and stuff like that. I'll do that offline. But for the moment, that's pretty much me done. I'm going to turn that one off. I'm going to go over here and see who else is online and how many people have been watching and all that sort of stuff. It's been really great sitting here with you. We've had 34 people viewing. If you are here and you want to say hello, by the way, I will always shout you out, so hello. But I think for now, that's pretty much it. We're just after 10 o'clock. I've been online for a couple of hours doing this live show. So thanks ever so much for watching. I really appreciate your time with me today. And if you want to see some more of this sort of stuff, please do click that like button, subscribe and ding that bell, because it means everything to small YouTubers like me. And I know you hear it a million times. It gets very boring. It also gets boring for me to say it, but if I don't, people don't do these things. So I think it's really important that I say it. Thanks ever so much again, and I will see you again next time with some more magical awesomeness. But until next time,